It's late at night, the only noise coming from the occasional car passing by. It's a still world, peaceful. But in the distance you hear something. It gets closer and closer. You look out your window and see nothing. You turn back to the darkness of your room and realize that you are no longer alone. It's 3 a.m. You should have gone to bed. Jesus is said to have been crucified at 3 p.m. Demons and other malevolent forces are most active at 3 a.m. as a way of mocking his suffering. We all have stories of things we can't explain, supernatural events that won't be forgotten, beings we could have swore that we saw, standing in the dark. Science has many answers, and I tend to lean on it almost all the time for tossing out explanations that will calm me down. The science tells us that for the average sleep schedule, 3 a.m. is when we are in REM sleep, and that being awoken from the steepest of sleep can have us feeling uneasy and even scared. I'm sure that this can explain the vast majority of scary stories circulating around this witching hour. But there will always be anomalies. Always. My partner and I used to work the night shift. We would go from business to business, doing janitorial work. We were alone. It was fun and simple. Hard work for sure, but the simplicity of the job kept it relaxing. Most nights, there were no problems, except for the occasional vagrant. There was one restaurant that we cleaned that creeped us both out. It had the common history of one of its employees passing away in it long ago. There was an uneasy feeling that hanged onto your shoulders as you walked in, weighing you down like wet clothes do. We always arrived at this restaurant at or around 3 a.m. in the morning, since it was one of the last businesses that we had to look after. We never felt unsafe when cleaning the front door sidewalk, because as we would come in from the back door, I'd look at the cameras to make sure we were alone. We would step outside and sweep the sidewalk in front of the place. It wouldn't take longer than a few seconds to do. One night, we were following this basic routine, and after having stepped inside, my girlfriend asked me, "Did you see him?" "No." I looked both ways. There was no one. She shrugged it off and said, "I thought I saw an old man, dressed all in black, hunched over, standing by the stoplight." I pressed her for more details, but she said that there wasn't much to say. She saw a short black mass without a head, but that she assumed it was an old man, hunched over. I didn't say anything. We stood there in silence. Before we went back to work, I peered out the windows, but all I could see were empty streets. All silent, all still. Once we were done cleaning, my girlfriend waited by the back door, where the cameras were. I did one last run-through of the place before heading out back and exiting. I stopped and looked out the window, hoping to see something, anything, that could give me a rational explanation for what happened earlier. A strong cologne filled my nose. I turned around, but there was no one there in the darkness of the restaurant. A bit spooked, I made my way to my girlfriend. We went out through the back and got in my car, driving away, done with the place for the night. No one spoke for a few minutes until finally my girlfriend looked at me and said, "Did he want anything?" "Who?" I asked. "The old man. I could see you staring at him when you looked out the windows before we left. I saw through the cameras. All I said was, there was no one there. Everyone's got stories about this strange hour. Waking up at 3 a.m., feeling ill. Science does have an explanation for this. Since our body enters REM sleep around this time, our immune system steps it up and fights harder against any ailments we may have. This in turn can make us feel weaker, sicker. But it is a scary coincidence that 3 a.m. is the time for all this action within our bodies. Still, I try to use rational explanations for matters such as these. I grip onto science and reason like a scared child. And when in my room, by the closet, or some other dark corner, I see a face staring back at me, I grip onto them even tighter.